Welcome to our HX webinar today. This is your pre-departure briefing for your upcoming British Isles expedition. And it's my pleasure to turn it over to Tudor Morgan, who will kick things off for us. So Tudor, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lee. Good afternoon, good morning, fellow explorers. Fantastic to be able to talk to you today about the British Isles, my home country at last. So further than our far afield webinars. We have about 180 registrations today, all of you joining MS Spitsbergen in April or around April for voyages up into the west of Scotland. So fantastic sailings. I'm joined today by Verena, our chief scientist, and Karen, our head of expedition development. So between us, we'll give you an insight and give you some information to prepare you for your voyage. Just as a preempt this, you will be getting voyage documents up to around 3 weeks before the sailing. So this will be backed up by paperwork or a physical email, as I guess not paper these days, but by communication from our team. In the webinar today, our aim is to obviously give an introduction, a short overview of the expedition. We'll talk, you will have received information about the change we'll be sailing from Fairlie, and we'll talk about what we'll see, what we can do, and a little bit about the ship. As Lee said, please do put your questions into the chat, and we'll try and answer them as we go. And we've also got a team behind the scenes doing the hard work answering your questions, so thank you already to them. And we will also have a wrap-up session at the end to take some more of the generic questions for everyone. So I've introduced Karen and Verena. Karen lives in Norway and Verena in Switzerland, so we've got a very European theme to our presenters today. At HX, we very much feel that we have the perfect balance, and we mean by that we have a mix of the comfort and the experience with the adventure. Our expeditions are curated by our product team to really provide that sense of adventure, but also with a mix of some shore excursions activities, but also onboard activities and of course expedition activities, which we will talk about. Also, our ship, MS Spitsbergen, is a small ship. For us, we take up to 140 guests in that region maximum. It's got a lovely small feel, so it's like the little gem in the fleet, slightly bigger than Santa Cruz 2 that operates in the Galápagos, but certainly a really comfortable small ship, very informal feel. So when we get to the packing section, don't feel you need to pack your cocktail dresses and dinner suits. We want you to feel at home and be relaxed on board. We also, a very big pillar and important to us is our sustainability. And what do we mean by that? Is really practicing what we preach, whether it be giving you recycled material expedition jackets, ocean plastic water bottles, but through to local supply of provisions and the food we serve you, but also our scientific partnerships, and also looking at how we obviously can reduce emissions as much as possible. So those are very important. Starting last October now, we became all-inclusive. What does that mean? For the day-to-day necessities of your sailing, you shouldn't have to you won't have to dip your hand in your pocket. Obviously, there's the boutique where you can buy things, and there's also some optional excursions, which we'll talk about later. But generally, drinks, food, day-to-day activities are all included. So that's part of the experience. A very short overview of the trip. Of course, you're all signed up and you're all joining us, so you know where you're going and what you're doing. But of course, it wouldn't be right to not talk about the mix that the Western Scotland offers, from the culture, the history, the magnificent landscapes, that coastal scenery, but also that mix with the wildlife. So you've got it all in the Northwest Highlands. or Western Scotland, and that variety from place to place, island to island, really makes it different. And the expedition ship really provides that platform to be able to travel between these destinations, which are harder to get to, even on the Calmac ferry. Very hard to get between these places and experience these itineraries. And during that, of course, we offer different activities, which we'll go into. The voyages we're talking about are there's 4 voyages on MS Spitsbergen. There's the one shorter one at the start of the season, and then 3 sailings, which we call island hopping in the Hebrides. So those are the main the sailings we're talking about for this webinar. You will have all received the change. We've moved our departure port, our embarkation and disembarkation port for these sailings to Fairlie. It's a smaller port further out on the coast, a lot easier access, and it's really fit for purpose for this expedition sailing. I know there have been questions in the pre-webinar chat, so we included some information here. But embarkation for the ship is between 3 o'clock and 5:30. There is a train that you can get from Glasgow to Largs. We will also be running a shuttle bus from Largs train station to Fairlie every 30 minutes between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And of course, there are taxis available. We're also aware that lots of you have booked sort of independent travelers, and that if you want to arrive by car, there is parking available here, which in the old port we were using at Greenland, there was no parking available. So feedback from previous explorers was that they really would like some parking. So there is parking available, and all this information will be, if you haven't had it already, will be in the voyage documentation. So lots to look forward to get you to the port and get you sailing. But now we're actually going to talk about the sailing rather than the administration, the bits, very important bits before you get onto the ship. But now you're on the ship. But Karen, what should our guests, our fellow explorers, take when they come to join the ship?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to kind of look at the list that we send you, which will give you an idea what because you can end up really just not ticking all the boxes. But I'm just going to highlight a few things. The sunglass part is really important, and because we are in the British Isles, where you know that weather can be variable, rain and so forth, bring rain gear, bring your rain pants, because you're going to be in open boats. Zodiac's going over to the destinations you want to go, because we are going remote and we are trying to get you to places that not a lot of people go. So I would say sunscreen, sunglasses, warm gear as well, because when you're out on deck, we do the layering system. So it means using your wonderful jacket that you're going to get from Ajax is a very good rain-proof jacket. It's got a very high water column for that. But for staying warm, bring well, preferably if you talk to a Norwegian right here, it's wool, a wool sweater or a down jacket, a light down jacket underneath, so you can be outside on deck and you can be in the boats, and so you just need to stay flexible. And this list that we are supplying you gives you what you need. So I'm not going to start taking all of them. You can see them yourself, but that's my highlights for you.
And I think it's probably fair to say British Isles in April can be absolutely
chilly.
Stunning. It can be stunning and sunburn. It can be chilly. It can be windy. It can be everything. So it's one of those challenging packing lists, which I'm sure you're all feeling of. What do I take? Be prepared for everything, I think, is a good thing to think about.
I think we can state to you very clearly. It is windy. It's not can be. It is.
It is windy. Okay. It is windy.
It's fantastic. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's part of the charm.
Yeah. And then part of the fun, of course, is what we get up to, the activities. Karen, would you like to brush on those as well?
Yeah, I can do that. So the British Isles, of course, opens up with a landscape that's there for a numerous amount of activities, both water-based and on land. So what we do nature landing wise is we try to get you either onto a jetty or to a beach, or there is a pier. But normally when we do nature landings, it's either a jetty or it's straight on the beach. That's more than the smaller places. Small boat cruising is when we find a nice bay or a nice channel and we would like to take you through where there is hard to get to in a normal circumstance, and the ship might be too big and so forth, and then our small boats provide this fantastic platform to get into the small bays and channels. Ship cruising is always very popular because you've got like the best vantage view. You can stay on the bow, you can be out on deck and so forth. We're going to talk more about that in the facilities that are on board. Hiking where it's possible and where it's allowed. In Scotland, that's easier than everywhere else. We have to stick to rules. We have, but it is very important part of our product. We'd like to take you into nature and show you unspoiled nature. Kayak adventure, also a pride that we've been building since 2012. So we also do have very, very skilled kayak guides on board, and this is an additional adventure you can book on board, and it's all up to the day and the weather and so forth. So that's a sort of opportunistic adventure, but we really put a lot of effort into it. And then of course Verena, I think.
Before we go to Verena, I know one of the questions that we've had and may also crop up is fitness levels of this is an expedition. We don't know what the weather's going to throw us. The skill of the expedition leader and the captain is getting the ship in the right protection. But in terms of getting in and out of boats, what's your take? You've been expedition leader for years, Karen. What's your take?
So have you. Well, the take is that if you are able to get in and out of the boat, you are on a good level to also do our smaller hikes. There will be more strenuous hikes, which will take a little bit more, but the getting in and out of the boat is the most important, because we do very kind of close-knit nature landings that do not require you to go very far. You can go as far as you want, but if you really want to kind of trot along and get on with it with the hikes, then I would say medium level, and for a Norwegian that is probably different from others, but but it's hard to find it. Yeah, I know, but it's on a universal scale. I would say a medium level for the hikes, because it is slippery, I mean, and you are on uneven terrain and all of that. So if you're used to that, you're fine. But just take it carefully and just seek help and seek advice from us, because we kind of guide you along the way. Don't feel pressured.
The team on board will be doing daily briefings. They've got a lot of experience. They'll be telling you about the level of the hikes and how hard they are, and same with whether the landings, whether it's a beach landing, a dry landing, whether so there's all those factors. And one of the things I know, getting in and out of boats is a sort of a fear factor, but from the ship we have a team there dedicated to help you in and out of the boats, and also at landing sites. So you're helped and guided through the whole process, and being able to, sounds a bit silly, but being able to stand up in and out, or stand and sit in a chair, is what you have to do, because if the Zodiac chamber is a big bench, you have to stand up and sit down. So the important thing is to follow the lead of the driver, from a safety point of view, which is really important. Okay.
And
go ahead, Karen.
No, I was just saying that, and the people that help you in, there is seamen's grips and all of that. So you're not left on your own at all. You are almost carried both in and out. So you should be, if you want to. I mean, we don't do that, but it's good. Yeah.
Very
Keep
good.
going.
Okay, we'll move across to science boats. I whizzed past. I finished that slide, Verena. Sorry.
You did. It doesn't matter. We can also talk about the science boat in a little bit. But why don't we start by talking about the wildlife and our science and education program as a whole? So as you may know, we pride ourselves for offering a very science-focused, enriching experience, educational experience for our guests on our trips. And this encompasses not only inviting you to spot wildlife on deck every morning, we also have a broad lecture program on board led by our very knowledgeable expedition team members. And we have a science center, brand new science center you will get to experience on the Spitsbergen, where we have microscopes and museum type collections to let you discover at your own rhythm and immerse yourself in the environments that we will be taking you to. So it is a great opportunity for you to be very curious and ask as many questions as you can get to the team. In terms of wildlife, what can you expect to see during these trips? Purposes are very common. We also have lots of seabirds. In this picture, you can see guillemots on the top center and then a beautiful oyster catcher in the top bottom. We also will see seals. Gray seal and harbor seals are the most common seals there, or the seals that you will get to see in Scotland. The red deer is the biggest deer in Scotland and very abundant as well. And the ships are everywhere, beautiful ships. So you will also get to see those. Amongst other animals to see are can I have the next slide? Thank you. Puffins, as far as we can tell you, puffins, guillemots, razorbills, they nest on the cliffs in Scotland, but they will be only arriving by the time that these trips happen. So you will get to see them, but probably not in the numbers that you were expecting. They will just be arriving back to start the breeding season. Another very beautiful bird that you get to see is the golden eagle. It's the top predator in Scotland. As Karin was reminding me, sea eagle was also reintroduced very successfully in Scotland from Norway. So that is why she reminded me.
Yeah, exactly.
So be attentive to those two amazing birds of prey that you will get to see. And of course, the Highland cow is not a native or wild animal, but they are so beautiful and everywhere to see in Scotland.
And in the packing list, the one thing that Karen didn't mention, Brona, but everyone should bring.
Binoculars.
Yes.
I thought Verena was going to take that one, so that's why I didn't say it.
So yes, everybody needs to bring a binocular. Well, it is very recommended. You really get to see or you approach the wildlife to yourself when you have your binoculars, and then you can also get to see little details that you would not with your bare eye. And before we move, citizen science, we can include it here. We mentioned our science boat. What we do is that we invite a number of guests between 8 and 10 so that there is room to move in the Zodiac to join us on a Zodiac cruise where we will be focusing on science. We will be explaining the ecosystem we will be sailing through. We will ask you to help us collect oceanographic data with a number of instruments. And we will also ask you to help us collect plankton samples that we will bring back on board to observe under the microscopes and then get a feeling of what is going on there. When we have a plankton bloom, what animal feeds on everything. We will explain everything to you on our science center. And the science boat is a nice opportunity to help collect what we will have on the Science Center. We also support a number of citizen science projects, and we have Starlink as an internet provider on board our ships, but connection may be tricky, and sometimes it's not very fast, or it doesn't allow for download of heavy applications. So if you want to participate in the citizen science projects that we support, I strongly recommend you that you download the applications that are needed for these in advance and you familiarize yourselves with them. If you're a bird lover, you definitely want to have Merlin ID. It's an amazing application that not only allows you to identify, or it's like a bird guide, it also allows you to identify the birds by the sound they make, which is incredible.
A warning, it's addictive, even if you're a geologist.
Very. Even for a rock person, yeah.
Are now addicted to this too. So yes, it's amazing. So yes, iNaturalist is also a very nice program who will allow you to have a record of every natural living thing that you encountered throughout your trip.
Very good. Yeah, lots of in-depth science and education to really make it a trip to remember, and a trip with a meaning, not just to get to the destination, but to improve that understanding. As part of that, we have a suite of different excursions and activities that split into two vague categories, or not vague, very strict categories, included ones which are part of the daily package, and then also a few optional excursions that you can book. At the moment, you can pre-book, but to do that, you need to go onto the website for your specific cruise. And on the bottom bar of the page, there's a item that says excursions, and you can book there, and it will detail the different excursions that are available. And at the moment, it also asks you if you want to book the excursions, then it will give you the phone number to contact, to call our customer support center to book. But don't worry, because excursions are all also available to book on board. But if there is something you really want to go to, then we do advise booking before. But everything is bookable on board as well, including things that won't be there, like kayaking, which is bookable on board. There are some excursions where there are capacity limits. But if we see that those are getting booked up, then our product team will do their best to increase capacity with the supplier. So sometimes there are just the physical capabilities of a supplier to be able to take people. So, but generally on these sailings, because they're the smaller ship, then generally people are able to do the excursions they want. So that's what you can do off the ship. But then as we go on board, we have a lot happening on board. MS Spitsbergen over the last couple of months has been down in Lisbon, and it's been going through a refurbishment. And you'll see in all the pictures we have of MS Spitsbergen, it is white, red, and black. It is now a different color. So when you get to Fairlie and you look for a white, red, and black ship, you will see the white bit is the same, but the bottom two colors are different in our new HX brand colors. So we're very proud that MS Spitsbergen is the first ship to go through that the paint job to be our new HX ship. But it's also undergone some modifications inside, and one of them, the driving force behind that is Verena. Tell us a little bit what's going on with the Science Centre, Verena.
Well, the Science Centre is a brand new purpose-built science center where we will be exploring all the amazing places that we take you to right there. It has been purpose-built. We have a nice microscope table, as you can see in this image, where you can discover the plankton species that we will be collecting. We will have other areas where we can do workshops, where you will learn about the polar bears. Sorry, not yet. Later.
Not yet. Later.
About the microstructure of the feathers, for example. Why are they so important for birds and so on? We just want you to understand very well everything that will be surrounding you during these expeditions.
And for those that have sailed on MS Spitsbergen before, this area is the panorama lounge above the bar, which wasn't used that much to its full potential. So this has now been converted, and where the science centre was has been converted back to a further dining option. So a sort of back to a bistro to give you more options in the food department. But of course, we have a lovely restaurant as well on board, which you can see in the pictures here. And again, using as much local food, but with also the chefs on board, certainly doing an incredible job of keeping you well fed, because it's very hard work being on an expedition. I always end up putting too many pounds, but that's but yeah, it's a great restaurant, and the food and the food and beverage team do a great job. I think one of the things that I really like about MS Spitsbergen is it's even more informal than the rest of our ships, because where do the lectures take and talks and briefings take place, Verena?
In the bar area. So yes, it's a very informal platform. You are comfortably installed while our experts are telling you the wonders about the area.
Well, so you can easily be sipping a dram, or a gin and tonic, or whatever you like. But yeah, very, very relaxed and informal. And Cara and we joke about the outside space on MS Spitsbergen, but here's you could have a football match.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, from all of our ships, I think Spitsbergen has one of the best areas to explore and to be outside, because you have this dance space up on the upper decks, and then you have this walkway out on the bow, so you can really stand at the very bow. You just have to go out a relatively heavy door to get out there and up a few steps, but when you're there, it is really you're right standing. It's like almost like a moment out of not a ship that we're not going to mention, but anyway, but it's really good. And they do different activities out there.
Yeah, and on the aft, on the couple of levels aft as well, really protected places. Brilliant for bird watching. Even bird watching from two jacuzzis. So obviously with all our ships, sauna, jacuzzis, nice gym. So if you don't feel you've had enough activities, then you can really relax and enjoy those facilities on board as well.
And they also offer, when there is weather for like a barbecue outside, stuff like that. So, there are chairs, as you can see on this picture. So the ship kind of tailors it to the occasion and to the area we're in.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the important things about all expedition sailings. And we already mentioned April in the British Isles. It can be variable, but the team we don't have a set. We're going to go. We're going to eat this, we're going to be there. The flexibility. So one of the things we ask you all is to come with that flexible mindset, and we'll all get the best out of the trip. So definitely that.
And then we will do whatever we can to kind of maximize that.
In terms of a bit of new material for the British Isles now as part of the Brexit. We now, if you're a non-Brit, obviously, then you do from April the 2nd, you will need electronic travel authority. Here is the QR code to go. You can go to the UK government website to apply for it. At the moment, you cannot apply for it from the 5th of March. So in a couple of days, you'll be able to go online and apply and get your ETA, and it will be valid for 2 years. So please just make sure you do that. And then also, regardless of where you're from, even if you're from Glasgow, you will need to take your passport. That's a company regulation for everybody that sails on our ships in terms of identification. So please, everybody bring their passport. We'd hate to be turning you around at the gangplank because you don't have your passport. So really important, everybody bring a passport, please. We also have had questions about medicals. Do I need a medical? No, you don't need a medical, because we are close to support network from the Scottish Health Service. But please, if you do suffer from seasickness, again, we said the variability, please bring some seasickness medication, bring your own medication. And also we do potentially depending on the weather, but it's a little bit early. But be prepared for midges and potentially ticks. So just be prepared and bring those type of things for you. But yeah, in April we shouldn't be getting any midges. But you never know, if the weather continues like it is at the moment in the UK, where it's glorious, things may warm up. So just be prepared as you would as if you were going on holiday anywhere else. But on board we do have a doctor and 2 nurses, so there are the facilities to help and support as needed when you're there. In terms of preparation and reading, we've put a sort of selection. These are all relatively new books, and I have to admit to have not actually read these myself, but when we were looking to provide you with some materials, some
reviews,
some absolutely fantastic reviews. So I'm definitely going to be looking at them. But the one book that we definitely all have dug into is the Bird Guide, Verona. So yeah, it's a really good, although generic for the whole British Isles, but the birds are definitely a theme for the Northwest.
Yes, definitely.
North Scotland. Sea Room is written by Adam Nicholson,
yes.
Who's written about the Shanks Islands, so part of an area that we hope to go to.
Yeah, he inherited that when he was 21. It's a very fascinating story about him and the birds and the isles and the wind and everything. So it's a very, very interesting story.
Yeah.
I've actually ordered that book today.
And needless to say that the history in all the places, one on the visits, there's so much literature on the history of the Highlands and Islands. So yeah, I think you can't go wrong on it in those readings. So yeah, but the science and education program on board, whether it be the lectures, the practical sessions, will all bring this to life. But of course, if you want to dig in before, then absolutely, please do. That's part of the experience. Then, as I mentioned at the start, the voyage documentation around 3 weeks before, plus or minus, depending on weekends and working days, we will send out the voyage documentation to you. Depending on if you're a solo traveler turning up at the port, it will give the port information. If you're coming from Germany or France or the USA, and you've booked flights with us, then that package will all come together tailored for you. So that look out for that around 3 weeks before the sailing. If you don't get it after 3 weeks, then let us know through the customer service centre, and we will make sure that gets to you. You're all in the call already. You're already booked, so you know where to get hold of us. But here's just some reminders of that information. So if you do need that, then please do that. But obviously, the team are here ready to answer your questions if you have any, and to make you as close to as comfort and make you as close on board. We've had. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to ask Ollie to join us, because Ollie's been in the background collating some of the more generic questions that my colleagues Olga and Saskia haven't directly answered, and there's some more. Another Karen behind as well, been answering some questions.
Yeah.
So we've had a big team, and I've just got to work out how to stop sharing, and then we'll be fine. It's on that other screen. There we go. Brilliant. Welcome,
Great.
Ollie.
Thank you very much for that content so far, guys. Really appreciate it. Hopefully that has left everybody feeling much more informed and prepared for their expedition that's upcoming. Yeah, we've had a few questions in the chat, but we could probably answer a few more. So if you do have any burning questions, then please do hit us up in the chat right now. But one of the outstanding questions was just around boots, and do our guests need to bring their own boots, or do we provide boots as we do on our Svalbard cruises and we do on all of our cruises? So,
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Karen, do you want to take it? Or, well,
Yeah.
no, Karen.
Yeah. No, bring your own hiking boots, because that's the best for this particular region. We can provide boots if you don't want to bring your own, and that will be these muck boot like rubber boots. And we will also assess during the time when you are on board whether we will actually give you those boots if we find a landing site, for example, that we would like to explore together with you, that would render your hiking boots wet as soon as you get on land. And then we will just give them out to you on a kind of spontaneously, in order for you to be able to enjoy that activity. So yes, yes and yes, in a sense. Bring your own, and we have.
Yeah, we have enough
if we need them.
rubber boots.
We have enough for everyone.
Yeah, for everyone. So you don't worry. But obviously, if we're doing hiking, then long hikes, it's
better.
It's better if you're more comfortable in your own boots. But
yeah. And in this region, it's also particular because if we do this in Svalbard, for example, we have a very rigid, strict biosecurity regime, which is it's really just a very vulnerable place. So we have a very different way of approaching that. But in the British Isles, there's a lot of people living. So I mean, it wouldn't make any sense for us to go on that rigid scheme as we do there. So that's kind of the main difference. Yeah, but we do clean. We do clean.
You don't get away.
We do clean. We are very we are very, very focused on not spreading biomaterial from one side to the other, and that goes for the British Isles. It goes for everywhere. Yeah.
And following on from that, we also have a stock of walking sticks, poles on board.
Good point.
That was one of the questions actually as well.
Yes, we have for everyone.
Same as everywhere else. Yeah, so they're available for everyone as well.
Yeah, and we will put them.
Yeah. Sorry, Karen.
No, I would say just the walking sticks will be provided for them at the appropriate places, either gangway or at the start of a hike, or where it's natural to kind of pick them up.
Great, thank you. And there's another question about whether we have a drying or washing room for boots and clothes on MS Spitsbergen.
We do. On deck too.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and there's also, same as all our other ships, there's a laundry facility as well. So there's those options to have your clothes washed as part of during the trip.
Right. So Helen has asked how many passengers we expect to be on the ship, and as I understand it, it's between 100 and 140 approximately. But correct me if I'm wrong there, guys.
That's right. The latest booking
that's right.
number, I think all the sailings were around just over 100, but maximum will be up to 140. We do get occasional more bookings now, but I'd expect around 100, 110.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of MS Spitsbergen is it's our smallest ship, so outside of the Galápagos, I should caveat. But with that amazing viewing platform that we obviously talked about previously. Verena, the app for the bird songs, what was that? Robert was asking.
Merlin.
Yes, it's Merlin Bird ID, and it's from Cornell Lab of Ornithology. So it's easy to find in the App Store. Just put on Merlin ID and you'll find it.
And part of that, as citizen science apps, they're all free. And they're based on crowdsourcing. So the more people that get involved, the bigger the data sets. So they're all free, well worth getting. I can't go for a walk now without.
No, me neither. I'm completely addicted to this thing. I mean, you're looking at 3 people who are addicted to Merlin right now on this bird app. Yeah, because it's in real time. Yeah, it's in real time. That's the fascinating part of it. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then maybe Karen, a question around, I normally use a rollator when walking any distance. Is it possible to bring that on the Zodiacs or landing craft?
Yes, those we will just need to kind of get you a little bit of a help. Can it be folded, or is it is it just the rollator itself? But that is easy. That's just like a rack, so that should be fine to put into the Zodiac. Just contact the ship when you arrive, and that's what you want to do, and then we will accommodate that. So we've done that many times before.
Yeah,
it's
Fantastic.
just this, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, he's replied to say folded. So yeah.
Folded, very
no
good,
problem.
very good, no problem. Welcome.
Yeah. We have a specific question around the ETA, but I'm not sure whether you guys are qualified to answer that. So
What?
I'll ask. So
As for disembarkation.
No, it's regarding the visa, passport,
Okay,
residence.
yeah,
Oh,
they have a US passport. We're a resident in the UK. Do we need an ETA?
Yeah, with a US passport, yes.
with the US passport you do.
But if you are
But if you're a resident, then
you have residency.
Oh, you're not leaving the UK. It's for entry into the UK. So
I think they should check this.
double check. Like I said, like we're probably not qualified to
this
answer
is
that
a
one,
marginal. This is a marginal kind of case. It's not mainstream for us to answer that one. But yeah, check it out.
It won't
Yeah.
force, I'm afraid.
Experience me when I moved to Switzerland. I had a residency in Switzerland, being Mexican. So you must be declared somehow in the UK.
Yeah,
but worth double checking and just
absolutely
worth double checking.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. And then a question around the excursion to the Kalanish Stones. Do you have to join the optional excursion? I think I know the answer to that, but and are optional excursions cheaper if selected online in advance?
So in terms of all optional activities, whether it be a small boat landing, science centre, lecture, included activity, then it's up to you. We want you to be able to enjoy it, so you choose. So there's those parts. So what fits with your plans and what you're interested in. For the extra excursions or activities like kayaking or distillery tour, then again you choose. I'm pretty sure the prices, but I'm checking. I've got Saskia sitting up to me. I'm pretty sure the prices are the same on board as pre-book. Yes, Ollie says yes. There we go.
I believe so, but
yeah. So yes, they're the same price.
Okay, and then a question around moorings by Zodiac. How many of our moorings are by Zodiac is the question for the 2nd of April trip specifically, but I'm guessing you won't have a specific number, but
I'm pretty sure, and Saskia's just behind me, I'm pretty sure most these itineraries are very expedition based. And I'm pretty sure on that shorter sailing that the majority, if not all, are by the ship being at anchor and accessed by the Zodiacs. So, which is pretty standard.
Okay, brilliant. And somebody's also commented that they could apply for an ETA last week, which is interesting.
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah. They said officially 5th of March, but
yeah,
that's good that they gave people a head start. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question around the optional whiskey distillery tour on Islay, but it doesn't appear to have availability right now. Again, I don't know whether that's probably a detailed question.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I was chatting to Saskia earlier. That's one of the ones that the distilleries will they open up X number of slots when they're booked. Then the Saskia and the team are working on getting more slots open. So it's sort of as one allocation fills up, then we try and move to the next. So it might say it's booked up, but we're hopeful. Saskia is doing her work. She's putting a thumb up that we're going to get more allocation.
Fingers crossed.
Brilliant. If you don't want to do any of the long hikes, would trainers be sufficient on the trip, or do we still need hiking boots? Is a another good question, really.
No, I think trainers would be fine if you're not attending to do any kind of hiking and so forth. But just be aware that, you know, with rain and a bit, it can be muddish where you go. So if you have a bit of sturdy trainers that, you know, not the kind of the flimsiest ones, so to speak, but you have some lower ones, you will be fine. But just be aware of wet ground so that you are even just walking can be and then if that becomes an issue, we'll just issue a pair of boots so that you can walk a little bit better then. So
it's what you're
whatever
comfortable,
it's more comfortable.
yeah, what you're
It's
comfortable
comfortable.
in and used to, and what you would be doing elsewhere.
Absolutely. And when I'm saying hiking shoes, I'm not saying like these massive hiking shoes that you necessarily need to have for multi-day hiking. I mean, hiking shoes can come in many shapes and forms. So, I mean, lighter hiking shoes is what we are really talking about. Those that you kind of go when you do a good little sort of 2-3 hour walk at home or whatever. So hiking shoes is a maybe even a wrong word to use in this sense because it limits a little bit. So whatever, like Tudor says, whatever you feel comfortable in, and then being rest assured that we do have boots on board if, you know, it becomes an issue with your own, so that you can stay at least dry.
Again, just preferentially water resistance.
Yes. That's a good
and
point.
Grip as well, right? You need something with a little bit of grip. Okay, I think that covers all of the questions. So just remains to say thank you very much for your presentations today. Much appreciated.
And we very much appreciate your feedback. So at the end of this webinar, you will get a little link to give us some instant feedback. We very much like to improve as we do these destination preparation trips for you, where we try and get you a bit more prepared and excited about your expedition upcoming. So please do a bit of feedback, but we very much wish you a fantastic trip on MS Spitsbergen. You will be the first guests this season on our new coloured painted ship and after its refurb. So of course, please give feedback on the ship too. Very important. But yeah, we look forward to seeing you on board and have fantastic sailings. And thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great time.
Bye.
All right. Well, this concludes our webinar. Goodbye, everyone.